H&L Rapid True Value for building supplies. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
Nationwide time, 5 o'clock.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
In Nationwide News at this hour, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the PNP is to blame for the poor state of the country's road infrastructure.
When that side is running the economy, there is no revenue to maintain the road. So the destruction of the road is very well the PNP fault.
But opposition leader Mark Golding says the JLP has failed to use the fiscal space left by the previous PNP government to properly benefit the people.
You have not used those resources on the road network. You have used it on a proliferation of other things.
Business confidence surged for the fourth quarter of 2024.
Police probing threats made on the life of former PNP caretaker for Central Kingston, Lawrence Rowe.
JFJ calls for a review of the standing orders of the House of Representatives.
In news from the rest of the world, Kenya to send an all-female SWAT team to Haiti.
22 U.S. states file lawsuit to stop President Trump's order blocking birthright citizenship.
In headline sports, West Indies and Bangladesh currently meeting in second Women's One-Day International at Warner Park. We'll have the latest.
And later in our broadcast, in our cover story at 5:35, according to the latest business and consumer survey from the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, business confidence has surged. JCC President Philip Ramson and Managing Director of Fosterage, Cecil Foster, will join us.
From 6 till 8 this evening, join us for a live broadcast from the Undercroft at the Huey Mona for the launch of Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton's book, Wild Flavors, an insider account of Jamaica's journey through the crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic.
At 8, it's Prescription for Life with Dr. Andre McDonald.
And at 9, it's Affairs of the Heart with Rodney Campbell.
All these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, nationwideradiojm.com, and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. This Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday, January 21, 2025.
News at 5 is brought to you by KFC's Popcorn Chicken, now available in hot and spicy. Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's new hot and spicy Popcorn Chicken. KFC, it's finger licking good.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has laid the blame for the poor state of the country's road infrastructure squarely at the feet of the People's National Party. Mr. Holness told the House of Representatives on Tuesday that the roads today are a result of climate change and 30 years of neglect under the previous PNP governments. However, Prime Minister Holness says his administration has broken the cycle of empty promises in relation to road maintenance. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
The government's multi-billion-dollar Spark and Reach programs have begun island-wide, with several of the country's roads now receiving much-needed rehabilitation. This as the Holness administration attempts to address one of the biggest concerns raised by Jamaicans ahead of the anticipated general elections. However, Prime Minister Holness has attempted to direct the ire of the people toward the PNP, which he blames for the current state of deterioration.
What makes matters worse in Jamaica is that our situation is compounded by 30 years of neglect and underinvestment in our infrastructure, including our roads. And if you were to look at when this neglect was most intense, when was this neglect of our roads most intense? I don't need to answer that question. I think every Jamaican knows that when that side is in power, when that side is running the economy, there is no revenues to maintain the roads. So the destruction of the roads, Mr. Speaker, is very well the PNP fault.
Mr. Holness says the failure of previous PNP governments to generate revenue required to improve road infrastructure has placed the country in its current state.
If they were maintaining the roads from all of those years coming, we wouldn't be in this position. It's important that the point be made that if roads are not maintained routinely, their surfaces will deteriorate and that will cause potholes. So there is a nexus between the ability of a government to generate the revenues to fix the roads. So the state of the roads, Mr. Speaker, is inextricably linked to the state of the economy.
The Prime Minister says, unlike other administrations, he has delivered on his promises.
So I make the point here not to excuse ourselves as government. That's not what this is about. Because we take responsibility by our actions. We don't only say we are going to fix it, we make the budgetary allocation to fix it. We manage the economy in such a way that we are able to execute the responsibilities. That's what it means to take responsibility. Not to make an empty promise that Jamaica will be pothole free by 2003. No, that's not how we do it.
He dared the opposition to challenge him on the facts. Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Mark Golding challenged Prime Minister Holness's claim that the PNP and climate change are to be blamed for the state of the country's roads. Mr. Golding says the current administration has failed to use the fiscal space left by the previous government to properly benefit the people.
The point of the matter is this: despite the growth in fiscal space, which is a result of the reforms and the successful execution of the IMF program under the Portia Simpson Miller administration, which has yielded a great legacy to this country, you have not used those resources on the road network. You have used it on a proliferation of other things. And to say that climate change is responsible for all of the potholes in the country is absolute nonsense. And the people don't believe it, and they don't accept it, and you're going to pay the consequences of it politically in the months to come.
Mark Golding, leader of the opposition, he was speaking in the House of Representatives on Tuesday.
And several taxi and bus operators withdrew their services on Tuesday in protest of poor road conditions along the Spanish Town Road in Kingston. The taxi operators who gathered near the Denham Town Police Station asserts that the poor quality of the roads has caused damage to their vehicles. Photos sent to our news centre showed several large potholes along the Spanish Town Road, some filled with sewage water and debris. One operator, Sheldon Harris, asserts that the deteriorating conditions of Spanish Town Road have placed a burden on his pockets. He argues that the government can expect no support in the next general elections if the roads are not fixed.
This morning, one of my tires dropping on it, right in my car. Brand new tire I put on yesterday, it bust because of them pothole. The other day I fix front end parts. Sunday I care about the car, go mechanic, him tell me say, Sunday again I come, I have to go change parts again. Why? Them things are dipping in my pocket. Just recently, one of my friends got splashed with this very water and it cost him over 70,000 because the rashes on his skin. We are called upon the Prime Minister, the Minister of Works, and all those who are responsible for this. Ministry of Health also, because this is also a health crisis. Because people are getting sick. This is from November to December, now it's January, a new year. Yes. We should be having something new. We can see them all, and this is an election here, and when they come, see them come, so they want to vote for them. We not vote. We not vote. We not vote. We not vote. No vote.
Sheldon Harris, taxi operator. His colleague Joseph Falconer says the sewage challenges extend to nearby housing schemes and the police station.
This is a major thoroughfare for persons going to the KPH hospital. No one know the back road and so forth to go to the hospital. I tell me say, every time them have to come through, as I look at the whole the wheel come up in the hole, you know. You're over the scheme. Persons are complaining even now. It has been brought to their attention. When you flush a toilet in the scheme, it come back up, it can't flush. A police I tell me a while ago say, not even the station toilet can flush. Good God, man, come on, man.
Joseph Falconer, taxi operator. Jamaica's business confidence has surged for the fourth quarter of 2024 amid difficult economic circumstances. That's according to the latest Jamaica Chamber of Commerce sponsored Business and Consumer Confidence survey released on Tuesday. CEO of Market Research Services Limited, Don Anderson, who conducted the survey, also found a slight improvement in consumer confidence following a decline in the third quarter of 2024. Mahiri Stewart tells us more.
Despite recession fears and a period of significant economic shocks, both consumer and business confidence have improved in the final quarter of 2024. According to pollster Don Anderson, most consumers surveyed remain hopeful but cautious.
Consumer confidence moved up by 3.9 percentage points, just under 4 percentage points, from a slight variation, slight fall off of about 2 percentage points the previous quarter. 3.9% increase in consumer confidence in the last quarter against a slight fall off in the third quarter of 2.2 percentage points. So there's an uptick in terms of how consumers feel about the economy.
The survey found that there was a 2-point increase in consumer confidence in the business sector. However, there was a small drop-off in expectations surrounding household income.
What about household income? What is interesting is that when you ask them about household income, 51.3% said, well, we expect it to increase. But this is down from the third quarter, where 52.2%. So, they're in a way at cross purposes. But this is how consumers think. Consumers are saying, well, we believe that things are going to get better, but yet they don't think their household income is going to increase to the extent that people felt so in the third quarter of 2024.
On the business side, there's been a major improvement in confidence for the fourth quarter, nearly matching the pre-COVID-19 peak.
Business confidence surged to 149.3, which is almost the peak since we started to monitor this particular index. Notice the peak was just pre-COVID, 2019. 151.3 was the index then. It's moved to 149.3. It's a significant jump over the last quarter. So we're talking about a 12.9% positive movement in terms of how businesses feel about the economy. Now, we have to bear in mind that we're dealing with the fourth quarter, Christmas. And what we have found is that the fourth quarter data tends to be a little bit more, in a way, buoyant, if you wish, because people are planning for anticipating Christmas.
Mr. Anderson says the majority of firms found the business climate favorable in the fourth quarter, with expectations of profits and expansion.
Almost every one of the indices that we plug into to come to that overall business confidence index moved positively forward. Current profit was better than expected. 25% of the firms interviewed said their current profit was better than expected. And that was an improvement of 22.9% in the third quarter. When we look at investment and expansion plans, 68.5% of the businesses believe that's a good time to invest. And that's a huge jump from the previous quarter of 53.4% and, of course, the fourth quarter of 2023 at 53.7%. So we're now getting back to a kind of bullish environment in the eyes of the businesses.
The survey comes amid an overall economic contraction for the previous quarter of 3.5%. There's potential for a further contraction in the fourth quarter. Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News. Nationwide News understands that police have launched an investigation into threats that have been made on the life of former PNP caretaker for Central Kingston, Lawrence Rowe. The Kingston Central Police Criminal Investigation Branch is probing the issue. Robian Williams reports.
Reports are that Rowe has been contacted by elements in the underworld and warned about his future conduct. The threats have reportedly been made verbally. Rowe was allegedly threatened by a feared member of the criminal underworld with roots in Tel Aviv, Central Kingston. Rowe has also reportedly been warned to not release any information that could bring down senior members of the PNP. Lawrence Rowe is the man who claims the PNP president, Mark Golding, tried to negotiate his silence after having dumped him as caretaker in Central Kingston. His claims that he was offered a seat as a senator and a board appointment in exchange for quietly accepting his removal have been confirmed by PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell. But Dr. Campbell has challenged Rowe's claim of a promise of $15 million in resources, saying discussions about money only extended to Rowe being reimbursed for sums he already spent to support his candidacy. Rowe has since taken to social media and revealed a document that suggested that monies are owed to him from as far back as 2022 by high-ranking members of the PNP. Earlier this week, a gun attack on the street where Rowe lives in Central Kingston resulted in one of his supporters being shot in the leg and injured. The police have since indicated that they do not believe that the shooting was politically motivated. Lawrence Rowe is an accountant by training. He was a member of the Rise United faction of the PNP, which propelled Golding to the helm of the 86-year-old party. Robeanne Williams for Nationwide News. You're listening to Nationwide News at 5. More news after these.
Valley Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Valley Drug Pharmacy is
15 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is...
It's 29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 in Montego Bay.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, will host the Health and Wellness Career Expo and Employment Fair, January 22 and 23 at 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Attendees from all schools are asked to confirm participation via email to rsvpcareerexpo@moh.gov.jm. Expect interactive booth displays, entertainment, free health screenings, and more. See you at the 2025 Health and Wellness Career Expo and Employment Fair. A career in health, the roadmap to success.
Continuing the news, Mayor of St. Anne's Bay, Michael Belnavis, has been readmitted to hospital following injuries sustained in an attack at his residence on Monday. Mayor Belnavis was initially released from hospital on Monday night, but was subsequently readmitted after feeling discomfort on Tuesday afternoon. The mayor was attacked by an unknown assailant at his residence on Monday. He sustained what is believed to be non-life-threatening injuries. Mayor Belnavis and his family say they are thankful for the outpouring of support and good wishes.
Classes were suspended at Vauxhall High School in Kingston for a second day on Tuesday due to another bomb threat hoax. Commissioner for the Jamaica Fire Brigade, Stuart Beckford, says firefighters were alerted to the scene at approximately 8 a.m.
At approximately 8:15 this morning, the Jamaica Fire Brigade received and responded to a call of bomb threat at the Vauxhall High School in East Kingston. 2 units were dispatched. The K9 and the ordnance team from the JCF, JDF respectively are currently on location doing a sweep of the building, and we await the result of that search. This is the second time in 2 days that this particular institution has had the threat of a bomb, resulting in disruption to the regular activities at the school. I have been advised that the school has dismissed for the day.
There has been a trend of bomb threat hoaxes since last year. This has affected the operations of several schools and businesses in the corporate area. Commissioner Beckford is urging individuals responsible for sending out these bomb threats to desist from doing so.
I want to make a special plea to the persons who are behind these bomb threats, sending these bomb threats, to desist from this practice. Not only is it disruptive, but it is tying up resources that could be better utilized. It is also disrupting the educational pursuit of these children. We are now going into that period where we're going to have CXC exams and all of these things. The students need every hour they can get in the classroom. And so to have a school having to close early 2 days in a row is something that we should not condone, but should be condemned in the strongest possible way.
Stuart Beckford, Commissioner of the Jamaica Fire Brigade.
The Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, has activated the National Emergency Operations Center, NEOC, in response to an oil spill in the Kingston Harbour. ODPEM says the spill was observed at 12:30 p.m. on Tuesday. ODPEM says an incident command post has been established at the CMEX Sports Club, where responsible agencies can respond effectively to the emergency event. Additionally, the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan has been activated. Upon advisement of the Port Authority of Jamaica PAJ, the NEOC is advising marine folk and fisher folk to halt all activities in the waterway and surrounding areas. ODPEM says the NEOC will continue to monitor the situation and provide the public with further information.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
The World in a Minute.
Kenya has announced plans to send an all-female Special Weapons and Tactics SWAT team to Haiti to bolster the country's security amid growing threats from gangs. In a statement, Kenya's Interior Ministry says the deployment is part of an unwavering commitment to the people of Haiti. It said this would include members of the General Service Unit, the Anti-Stock Theft Unit, and an all-female SWAT team. The female SWAT team comprises of women who've undergone rigorous training and are designed to handle high-risk situations that require specialized skills. Additionally, the SWAT team is also trained to handle counter-terrorism operations, hostage rescues, and armed confrontations.
Attorney generals from 22 states have filed a lawsuit in an effort to block President Donald Trump's move to end a century-old immigration practice known as birthright citizenship. Trump issued his executive order on Monday, fulfilling one of his presidential campaign promises. Birthright citizenship practice guarantees that U.S.-born children are citizens regardless of the status of their parents. The issue of birthright citizenship arose in Arizona, one of the states suing to block Trump's order.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose Assembly and Supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the PNP is to be blamed for the poor state of the country's road infrastructure.
But opposition leader Mark Golding says the JLP has failed to use the fiscal space left by the previous PNP government to properly benefit the people.
Business confidence surged for the fourth quarter of 2024.
Police probing threats made on the life of former PNP caretaker for Central Kingston, Lawrence Rowe.
I'm Robianne Williams.
And I'm Mahiri Stewart.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News next at 6 tomorrow morning.
News at 5 was brought to you by KFC's Popcorn Chicken, now available in hot and spicy. Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's new hot and spicy popcorn chicken. KFC, it's finger licking good. The following earthquake tip is brought to you by Conrad Douglas and Associates Limited and its subsidiary Environmental Science and Technology Limited. When planning new developments, incorporate seismic hazard assessments in the environmental impact assessment process. The preceding earthquake tip was brought to you by Conrad Douglas and Associates Limited and its subsidiary Environmental Science and Technology Limited. Telephone 876-929-0023.
When last you get good bun, you don't know good bun until you have a mother's bakery bun. From you pull open the wrapper and it's soft so till. A so bun for nice. And from when you take the first bite, love it so till. A so bun for nice. Beg your piece.
Get your own mother's bakery bun.
I will buy one off you.
Yes, but I will charge a convenience fee.
I will take one.
Me too. Mother's bakery buns. A so bun for nice. Try them today.
Sports at 5 is brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Rain has stopped playing the second Women's One-Day International between West Indies and Bangladesh at Warner Park in St. Kitts. The West Indies at the stoppage, they were 17 for 1 after 4 overs and 2 balls. Captain Hayley Matthews is unbeaten on 11. Shemaine Campbell yet to get off the mark. Kiana Joseph is the batter out for 6. Earlier, the Bangladeshi centre-back made 184 all-out in 48 overs and 5 balls. Nigar Sultan Jyoti made 68 and Shorn Akhter 21. Karishma Ramnarak bagged the 4 for 33 and Alia Alain 3 for 24. The West Indies lead the three-match series 1-0 following their massive victory by 9 wickets on Sunday. The West Indies are still searching for their first win at the ICC Under-19 Women's T20 World Cup in Malaysia after crashing to an 81-run defeat to Sri Lanka in Kuala Lumpur this morning. Manudi Nakasayakara 41, Sanjana 39 and Dahima Samatea 31 combined to take the Sri Lankans to 166 for 5 in their 20 overs against Selena Ross 2 for 25. In response, the West Indies were blown away for 85 runs in 19 overs and 4 balls, as on the back of a top score from captain Samara Ramnath 24. Shamodi Praboda bagged the 3 for 16. The Windies, who lost their opener to India on Sunday, will next be in action on Thursday. They will close out the group stage against the host country Malaysia, a game they must win if they are to advance to the Super 6 stage. President of Cricket West Indies Dr. Kishore Shallow says whether or not members of the Barbados or Guyana associations are present at a special meeting of the board next month, a decision will be made as it regards the Webby report. The meeting is to discuss issues relating to governance reform. Shallow says he can state with a measure of certitude that they are going to proceed and progress with governance reform at the special meeting. The BCA and the GCB did not attend the CWI meeting on December 6 to vote on governance reform, causing the meeting to be adjourned due to the lack of a quorum. The meeting was called with the intention of voting on the Webby report's recommendations. However, the BCA and GCB had complained that Cricket West Indies had ignored their calls for discussions to review how the President and Vice President of Cricket West Indies are arrived at. The Barbados Association has proposed a rotational policy for Cricket West Indies presidency, but Shallow has described it as nonsensical. Athletes competing at this year's Camperdown Classic will now be able to earn points on World Athletics Global Ranking System. The meet, which will have its 2025 staging on February 8th at the National Stadium, has received the recognition from the sport world governing body. The Camperdown Classic now joins 20 other local track and field meets with World Athletics recognition. Courtney Brooks is meet director.
Yes, it does. So that's why we have to be on par and up to standard with presentation, organization, and everything that comes with being at the top level. With World Athletics sanctioning our meet, you have to be at the highest standard. And with that, we employ one of the best teams to do and help us with that proceeding in terms of employing the world-class athletic team led by Mr. Bruce James to be in charge of the registration, the recording, and everything, keeping everything up to date and up to standard, the meet.
Meet director of the Camperdown Classic, Courtney Brooks. High Flyers, Liverpool and FC Barcelona secured spots to the last 16 of the European Champions League following victories on matchday 7 today. Liverpool maintained the league's only 100% record. They beat the French outfit Lille 2-1 at Anfield to make it 7 wins on the spin from as many starts. Mohamed Salah and Harvey Elliott got the goals for Liverpool. Barcelona jumped to second in the standings after a wild night in rain-drenched Lisbon, where they came from 3-1 down to beat Benfica by 5-4. Vangelis Pavlidis bagged a hat-trick for the home team, while the Pole Robert Lewandowski claimed the brace for the Catalan club. Leon Bailey played the first 56 minutes of Aston Villa's 1-0 defeat to AS Monaco on the French Riviera. In other games, Atletico Madrid, they beat the German champions Bayer Leverkusen 2-1. Bologna won by a similar scoreline over Borussia Dortmund, and Atalanta crushed Sturm Graz by 5-0. And finally, in sports at this time, President of CANOC, Keith Joseph, says over the past several months, world boxing has appeared focused on becoming the new international federation for the sport of boxing. Joseph says they're seeking membership to justify it becoming acceptable to the IOC. This in an effort to benefit from IOC recognition and have rights to administering the sport at the Los Angeles Games in 2028. He believes Caribbean countries have essentially been very quiet in the face of the international actions impacting boxing around the world. And that will do it for sports.
Sports at 5 was brought to you by Total Tools. They almost always have it.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you.
The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:30.
When last you get good bun, you don't know good bun until you have a mother's bakery bun. From you pull out the wrapper and it's soft so till. A so bun for nice. And from when you take the first bite, love it so till. A so bun for nice. Beg your piece.
Get your own mother's bakery bun.
I will buy one off you.
Yes, but I will charge a convenience fee.
I will take one. Me too. Mother's Bakery Buns. A so bun for nice. Try them today.
The following earthquake tip is brought to you by Digital Commodities Limited. Stay where you are until the shaking stops. Do not run outside. Do not get into a doorway, as this does not provide protection from falling or flying objects. The preceding earthquake tip was brought to you by Digital Commodities Limited. Telephone 876-960-8359.
The Jamaica diaspora sends over $3 billion back to Jamaica per year, but it is too complicated for them to open investment accounts in Jamaica and invest their money. Blue Maho Capital has unlocked diaspora direct investment, and we are helping to move the Caribbean forward. Learn more about us at www.bluemahocapital.com.
The following earthquake tip is brought to you by Coast to Coast Concrete. Before an earthquake, know your risk. Research the area and find out if you live near an active fault line. Check whether the ground around you is more susceptible to the effects of an earthquake. You should also be aware of seismic hazards. These hazards are secondary dangers that could be triggered by an earthquake. The preceding earthquake tip was brought to you by Coast to Coast Concrete. Telephone 876-754-7472.
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Undercroft at the UWI Mona campus on Tuesday, January 21. Dr. The Honorable Christopher Tufton is launching his new book, Wild Flavors. The book captures and highlights Jamaica's experience during the COVID-19 pandemic, the country's response to the global crisis, and more. Hear more about the book when you tune in to Nationwide at 5 on Tuesday, January 21 from 6 to 8 p.m. or visit the Undercroft at the UWI Mona campus. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM. The new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Woman's intuition, sixth sense of a man, insecurity, paranoia, jealousy, proof, hard evidence, or evidence that is hard. What comes first? How easy is it to know your partner is stepping outside of the relationship? And what kinds of activities come to mind? For some, it is face-to-face and the physical. For others, it just needs to be visual and video vixens. Voraciously or vicariously done. Are women really better at seeing the signs or just hiding the signpost? Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic: Red Flag. In the sheets or the streets? Red Flag. 2025 version. Red Flag. Red flags to know your partner is cheating. What a thing.
Busted. It's 2 damn o'clock in the morning. Where you been?
Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed. And Durex, distributed by Massey Distribution Limited, Jamaica.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to help us grow our business and build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Cover Story is brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Pay nothing down on a shiny, brand new Hyundai vehicle with free loan payments until March 2025. Yes, get a 2024 Hyundai vehicle and get free loan payments until March 2025. 100% financing, 2 years free service, 0 processing fees, and other sweet goodies. Drive into the new year with your new ride. Goodbye, old car. Hello, Hyundai. Hyundai. For free payments promotion. Limited stock available. Offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here on Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks. Good afternoon, listeners.
Good afternoon, Ricardo. And we're coming to you from our university, the University of the West Indies, the Mona campus, because it will be an evening of wild flavors. That's the title of Chris Tufton's book, detailing his experience managing and providing an insider's view of Jamaica's journey with the novel coronavirus beginning in March 2020. It reads pretty much like a novel, yes? And we're going to be having the launch of that a little later.
And just to tell the listeners, it says, join Chris Tufton, Jamaica's Minister of Health and Wellness, as he reveals the untold stories behind the nation's courageous fight against COVID-19. In this latest book, Tufton takes readers on a gripping journey from the arrival of patient zero to Jamaica's ultimate triumph over the unprecedented challenges.
Ricardo, I don't think we're hearing you. I think you're off mic. All right? But what Ricardo was saying, it's really a chronicling of the minister's experience of the coronavirus in Jamaica. And we're going to learn a little bit more about it later. Yes? But in our cover story this afternoon, first of all, let me tell you, I'm just seeing the pictures coming in. I think let me apologize for the break in transmission. All right, we're back. Ricardo, are you back?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now, Ricardo. All right, let me tell you, we're seeing video of a terrible accident, motor vehicle crash, in the vicinity of Braco in Trelawney. Several motor vehicles involved, and based on the video that has come to us, at least 2 people are seriously injured, if not dead. Yes? Seriously injured. A man hanging from the window of the driver's seat. And we saw another woman thrown from one of the vehicles on the sidewalk in the vicinity, in the area called Braco in Trelawney. Really looking terrible. Several people injured or dead.
Yeah.
Yes?
And we expect that the newsroom will be on that, so as soon as we have more information, we'll bring that to you. In the cover story this afternoon, Jamaica's business confidence has surged for the 4th quarter of 2024. And this is despite seemingly challenging economic circumstances. The surge has put business confidence near pre-COVID-19 levels.
It moved to approximately 149 points, an increase of more than 12 percentage points. That's according to the latest Jamaica Chamber of Commerce Business and Consumer Confidence Survey released today. The survey also showed a slight improvement in consumer confidence following last quarter's decline, with an improvement of 3.9 percentage points.
This is up from a decline of 2 percentage points from the 3rd quarter. According to the survey, both consumers and businesses are showing improving sentiments regarding the country's economic and business climate going into this year. However, consumers remain somewhat hesitant in regards to their spending. The survey was conducted between September and December of 2024. We should tell the listeners we're going to hear a lot of background interference, because as we told you, we're coming to you from the Undercroft at the New Mona for the launch of the Health Minister's Wild Flavors book on COVID-19 and the management of that pandemic.
Yes. And we're going to be joined now by the president of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Philip Ramson, and the managing director of Fosrich, Cecil Foster. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and
Good
thank you for
afternoon.
having me there, Cliff and Ricardo. It's a
Good.
pleasure.
Good.
Good afternoon, and happy to be on your show, Ricardo and Cliff.
Good afternoon, Mr. Foster.
Hi, Philip.
Welcome.
How are you?
Good. Let me begin with you, Philip Ramson. Your reactions to the latest Consumer and Business Confidence Survey findings. Business confidence surging, according to the researchers.
Yeah, so we were pleasantly surprised by the recent survey results because I think surge is an accurate word to describe it, because we are almost back to the level of pre-COVID numbers. And when you look at the last 2 to 3 quarters where we're seeing a decline in confidence both in the business sector and in the consumers, to have a almost 13% increase from last quarter to this quarter was a pleasant surprise. I think it was encouraging from a business sector. And when you look, we surveyed over 100 businesses and over 600 individuals over the course of the quarter. It ranges from retail to wholesale to manufacturing to the finance sector, real estate, tourism. I mean,
will be recorded.
a wide range
This call is no longer being
of businesses. And so when we saw that surge, it really was encouraging. Now, when we look at why, overwhelmingly, really, the most common answer was that people felt optimistic. There wasn't anything that was concrete to say, here is the reason why, other than I think that they looked at what their end-of-year results were looking like. And some businesses, I think about 25% of businesses, said that they actually exceeded expectations at the end of the year. So I think we were going into the end of the year feeling optimistic. I think that when you look at this year coming, 2025 being an election year, I think that there are a lot of indicators that could show that there could be some spending, there could be some encouragement for opportunities for business. So I think we were quite surprised, I would say, but pleased with the results, and I think it's encouraging that businesses feel that way.
Cecil Foster, from your seat at Fosrich, do you share this optimism that your colleagues are reporting?
I must say, Cliff, it is a surprise to me too, because as I shared this morning on the platform, that is not where we are seeing things in the business world, But Philip just mentioned that the survey reported that the reason, the most significant reason for this optimism was that people are just, enthusiastic and positive. I don't know if they're looking 6 months or 12 months down the road. But today, as we see things, it is not as the report is saying. And I'm not too sure, because I know a lot of the business sector who I talk to, they are thinking that there's going to be a deceleration in the interest rate. Because, at one point, just before COVID, interest rate was at 0.5%. And some people are thinking that it needs to get back there. And with the BOJ's action, started to reduce the rate. I am wondering, what is making up this category called enthusiasm.
So, Mr. Foster, what accounts for your pessimism?
I am not underwater with my thinking, with our feeling or so on, but the energy that existed before COVID and carried through even during COVID up to 2022, it has waned from 2023 into last year, and so far in 2024, we are not seeing that kind of enthusiasm in the industry. Our industry covers a wide range of discipline, housing and construction and energy and manufacturing. And basically, people are in the middle. People are just, barely moving in the positive. In my estimation, I'm not here shooting at the report, but I'm just telling you what we are seeing and experiencing.
Mm-hmm. Hold the line for us, Mr. Foster, Philip Ramson. Yeah. We're up on a break. Stay with us, please.
KFC pop, popcorn chicken. KFC popcorn chicken. Incredible, delicious finger licking in the sauce when me dip it. I can't resist it. Once you start, you can't stop.
Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken. Now available in hot and spicy. Try with our new dipping sauces. KFC, it's finger licking good.
KFC popcorn chicken.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jackama figure dig the wall.
Our Total Tools.
Beat Waka figure trim the lawn. We have everything your job demand.
Total Tools. We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, or Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slibe Road, Kingston. And lot C6 Jacksaw, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
The Jamaica diaspora sends over $3 billion back to Jamaica per year, but it is too complicated for them to open investment accounts in Jamaica and invest their money. Blue Maho Capital has unlocked diaspora direct investment, and we are helping to move the Caribbean forward. Learn more about us at www.bluemahocapital.com.
It's the Career Expo and Employment Fair. Tune in to CliffViews Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the UWI-Mona campus on Wednesday, January 22. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is excited to announce its inaugural Career Expo and Employment Fair taking place at the UWI-Mona campus on January 22 and 23. Expect career demonstrations, career counseling, health screenings, on-spot interviews, and more. Walk in with your resumes and walk out with a job. So tune in to CliffViews Online on Wednesday, January 22 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Career Expo and Employment Fair at the UWI-Mona campus. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
With us here on Nationwide at 5. You're tuned into the cover story. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Cliff Hughes.
And we're getting reactions to the latest business and consumer confidence survey. It's indicating that Jamaica's business confidence surged in the fourth quarter of 2024. We have with us President of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, JCC, Philip Ramson, and the Managing Director of Fosterich, Cecil Foster. Before the break, Mr. Ramson was indicating that he was getting the sense that, yes, there is enthusiasm, optimism, in line with what the report found. Mr. Foster saying not quite the case from where he sits. So, Mr. Ramson, in terms of positive indicators that you think you would need to see from the government to sustain the kind of enthusiasm that you say you see, what would that be?
So, that's interesting. We were discussing the fact that the Prime Minister came out at the end of last year with this speech about productivity and removing barriers that hinder productivity and the red tape. And so, we were actually saying that we're waiting to see that. We're waiting to see some of this productivity, what programs are going to come forward, how they can help to ease the burden of all the bureaucracy of conducting business so that they can, the ease of doing business. So, I think that is essential for.
But wouldn't those things be more long-term objectives? I mean, fixing the productivity problem, for example, that's not going to be in the short or even medium term. Those are long-term structural changes that will have to happen to achieve some of what the Prime Minister has outlined in the Aspire plan.
Sure. I think that there are long-term issues. I think there are other short-term solutions and stuff. I mean, we had mentioned about, the reduction of the interest rates to get productivity going. I think there are things that you can do to entice and do it. I think it's going to be interesting to see when the budget comes out what is going to be in there that is going to help small businesses, and some incentive programs. I think it's going to take an effort from them to encourage some of the entrepreneurs. When we look at the consumer indices aspect of things, there was an enthusiasm for entrepreneurship and for small businesses, whether it's like, hairdresser businesses or vendor businesses or things like that. We need to encourage that kind of environment to get the small person to be able to become a formal part of the economy. And I think there are quick fixes that they can do to encourage that, to create, incentives for these businesses. So I think from that standpoint, there are things they can do from a short term for productivity. I think, we heard the Prime Minister's speech, and I'd like to see some movement on it now.
Mm-hmm. And Mr. Foster, from where you sit, Aspire, any sort of confidence you've taken from what you heard from the Prime Minister in the broad outlines of the vision? That sounds like a no.
I'm always looking at what's on the ground and what is making the economy turn, whether it be the economy of the country or the individual companies. And Aspire makes sense, but as it says, you can always aspire, but you have to be aspiring with progressive growth taking place and so on. And so that's where we see that we all need to be. For instance, a lot of Jamaicans right now are aspiring for renewable energy. There's no doubt about that. So even when I was a little bit cagey earlier to say we have not seen a lot of energy, it's an overall thing in our business. As I mentioned, that we do play in a number of industries, right? In a segment that is called energy, there is a tsunami of aspiration or demand that is there. And the solution that the companies and individuals are looking for, I don't think it's coming fast enough to solve their problem because they...
And what are those? What are those solutions? What are they?
Well, energy cost is pretty high, and I don't think enough is being done to reduce those. That cost. Two, there needs to be accessibility to the funding that is required to allow businesses and homeowners to move faster to get the cost of energy down or renewable energy installed in their businesses or their homes. That there's some movement there on the finance side or the availability of financing, but it needs to be accelerated to get the country where we want to be. Let me say this, a lot of people are hurting from that level, from the level of not having the energy provided at a cost. We cannot operate a business compared to, say, Trinidad and so on, other countries in the region, 8 and 13 cents, and we are at 40 cents. Mm-hmm. That is a perennial problem, and I think that is where the country needs to be focusing on, finding a way to get the solution to the consumer, whether it be the companies or through just regular consumers.
And just so we're clear, so it's not about the availability of financing, it's access to the financing, because you're saying it's there, but it's hard to
I think it is there. I think it is there, and I will call out, like, for instance, DBJ needs to get into the trenches with the solution that I know they have. They have that solution, and the people need to access it to get a break from this high energy cost. It is preventing businesses.
But what do you mean by DBJ
expanding
needs to
and
get
growth.
into the trenches? What does that mean in practical terms?
No, what I mean, talk more to the people on the ground and make things happen. You can talk, but if you're not going to make things happen, then you're going to be talking for a long time, and people might feel like you're not there with them, trying to give them the solution that they need.
Mr. Ramson, that sounds like cutting the red tape and the bureaucracy.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I think that when I was listening to what Cecil was talking about and the access to finance, that's been an ongoing record that we keep talking about is getting the access and getting affordable financing as well. You know, I mean, we talk about a reduction in the interest rate over the last, since August, the BOJ has been reducing the rate. And we've seen no reduction from the commercial banks in these things. So, you know, these are parts of some of the issues that are faced for businesses and individuals. So, you know, I think this year we really need to look at making, you know, things a little more affordable. I mean, when we looked at the results as well, outside of crime, which is the number one issue, is the cost of living. Cost of living is way too high in Jamaica, and the cost of conducting business is too high in Jamaica. So there has to be something that needs to be done about these things.
Yeah. Philip Ramson, President of the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, Cecil Foster, Managing Director of Fosterage. We expect that we'll continue to have these conversations, especially as the budget is read, and then after that we expect that we'll be well and truly into the election season. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for having us.
All right.
Thank you.
Listeners, we're going to throw you to the studios now for the headlines. We're coming to you live from the Undercroft at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. Dr. Christopher Tufton, the country's Minister of Health, the launch of his book, Wild Flavors, an insider account of Jamaica's journey through the crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic. Headlines up next.
Cover Story was brought to you by Hyundai. Modern, premium, affordable vehicles.
Woman's intuition, sixth sense of a man, insecurity, paranoia, jealousy, proof, hard evidence, or evidence that is hard. What comes first? How easy is it to know your partner is stepping outside of the relationship? And what kinds of activities come to mind? For some, it is face-to-face and the physical. For others, it just needs to be visual and video vixens. Voraciously or vicariously done. Are women really better at seeing the signs or just hiding the signpost? Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic:
Red flag.
In the sheets or the streets?
Red flag.
2025 version.
Red flag.
Red flags to know your partner is cheating. What a thing.
Busted. It's 2 damn o'clock in the morning. Where you been?
Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed. And Durex, distributed by Massey Distribution Limited, Jamaica.
It's the Career Expo and Employment Fair. Tune in to Cliffviews Online from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. as we broadcast live from the UWI-Mona campus on Wednesday, January 22. The Ministry of Health and Wellness is excited to announce its inaugural Career Expo and Employment Fair taking place at the UWI-Mona campus on January 22 and 23. Expect career demonstrations, career counseling, health screenings, on-spot interviews, and more. Walk in with your resumes and walk out with a job. So tune in to Cliffviews Online on Wednesday, January 22 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's the Career Expo and Employment Fair at the UWI-Mona campus. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
6 o'clock. Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay Banton. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has laid the blame for the poor state of the country's road infrastructure squarely at the feet of the People's National Party. Mr. Holness told the House of Representatives on Tuesday that the roads today are a result of climate change and 30 years of neglect under the previous PNP governments. However, Prime Minister Holness says his administration has broken the cycle of empty promises in relation to road maintenance. The government's multi-billion-dollar Spark and Reach programs have begun island-wide, with several of the country's roads now receiving much-needed rehabilitation. This as the Holness administration attempts to address one of the biggest concerns raised by Jamaicans ahead of the anticipated general elections. However, Prime Minister Holness has attempted to direct the ire of the people towards the PNP, which he blames for the current state of deterioration.
What makes matters worse in Jamaica is that our situation is compounded by 30 years of neglect and underinvestment in our infrastructure, including our roads. And if you were to look at when this neglect was most intense, when was this neglect of our roads most intense? I don't need to answer that question. I think every Jamaican knows that when that side is in power, when that side is running the economy, there is no revenues to maintain the roads. So the destruction of the roads, Mr. Speaker, is very well the PNP fault.
Mr. Holness says the failure of previous PNP governments to generate revenue required to improve road infrastructure has placed the country in its current state.
If they were maintaining the roads from all of those years coming, we wouldn't be in this position. It's important that the point be made that if roads are not maintained routinely, their surfaces will deteriorate and that will cause potholes. So there is a nexus between the ability of a government to generate the revenues to fix the roads. So the state of the roads, Mr. Speaker, is inextricably linked to the state of the economy.
The Prime Minister also said, unlike other administrations, he's delivered on his promises. Meanwhile, opposition leader Mark Golding challenged Prime Minister Holness's claim that the PNP and climate change are to be blamed for the state of the country's roads. Mr. Golding says the current administration has failed to use the fiscal space left by the previous government to the proper benefit of the people.
The point of the matter is this: despite the growth in fiscal space, which is a result of the reforms and the successful execution of the IMF program under the Portia Simpson Miller administration, which has yielded a great legacy to this country, you have not used those resources on the road network. You have used it on a proliferation of other things. And to say that climate change is responsible for all of the potholes in the country is absolute nonsense, and the people don't believe it and they don't accept it, and you're going to pay the consequences of it politically in the months to come.
Mark Golding, leader of the opposition, he was speaking in the House of Representatives on Tuesday. Several taxi and bus operators withdrew their services on Tuesday in protest of poor road conditions along the Spanish Town Road in Kingston. The taxi operators, who gathered near the Denham Town police station, asserted that the poor quality of the roads has caused damage to their vehicles. Photos sent to our news centre showed several large potholes along the Spanish Town Road, some filled with sewage water and debris. One operator, Sheldon Harris, asserted that the deteriorating conditions of Spanish Town Road have placed a burden on his pockets. He argued that the government can expect no support in the next general elections if the roads are not fixed.
This morning, one of my tires dropping right in my car. Brand new tire I put on yesterday. It bust because of them patrol. The other day I fixed front end parts. Sunday I care about the car, go mechanic him tell me say Sunday again I come, I have to go change parts again. Why? Them things are dipping in my pocket. Just recently, one of my friends got splashed with this very water and it cost him over 70,000 because the rashes on his skin. We are called upon the Prime Minister, the Minister of Works, and all those who are responsible for this. Ministry of Health also, because this is also a health crisis. Because people are getting sick. This is from November to December. Now it's January, a new year. Yes. We should be having something new. We can see them all. And this is an election here. And when they see them come, so they want to vote for them. We not vote. No vote.
Sheldon Harris, taxi operator, his colleague Joseph Faulkner, says the sewage challenges extend to nearby housing schemes and the police station.
This is a major thoroughfare for persons going to the KPH hospital. No one know the back road and so forth to go to the hospital. I tell me say, every time them have to come through, as I look at the wall the wheel come up in the hole, you know. You're over the scheme. Persons are complaining even now. It has been brought to their attention. When you flush a toilet in the scheme, it come back up, it can't flush. A police I tell me a while ago say, not even the station toilet can flush. Good God, man, come on, man.
Joseph Faulkner, taxi operator. Mayor of St. Anne's Bay, Michael Belnavis, has been readmitted into the hospital following injuries sustained in an attack at his residence on Monday. Mayor Belnavis was initially released from the hospital on Monday night, but was subsequently readmitted after feeling discomfort on Tuesday afternoon. The mayor was attacked by an unknown assailant at his residence on Monday. He sustained what is believed to be non-life-threatening injuries. Mayor Belnavis and his family say they are thankful for the outpouring of support and good wishes. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay Banton. Sports is next.
KFC popcorn chicken. KFC popcorn chicken. Incredible, delicious, finger licking in this house when me dip it. I can't resist it. Once you start, you can't stop.
Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken. Now available in hot and spicy. Try with our new dipping sauces. KFC, it's finger licking good.
KFC popcorn chicken.
Want to reduce your high electricity bills? Then Peak Energy has the solution for you. From grid-tied to hybrid solar inverters with full lithium-ion battery pack. Installation and maintenance packages available. Visit us at Shop 1, 3 Mosquito Valley Road, Red Hill, St. Andrew. Call 876-279-8820 or 944-0668. Or email us at peakenergysolutionsja@gmail.com. Peak Energy for everything solar. Start your fitness journey today and make 2025 your healthiest yet with Express Fitness. State-of-the-art equipment, expert trainers, and encouraging community are here to support you every step of the way. Join now and take the first step towards a stronger, happier you. Express Fitness, starting at only $9,500 per month with 11 locations island-wide. Your gym for all your needs. Visit www.expressfitnessja.com to sign up today.
100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100%
Tune in to Nationwide at 5 from 6 to 8 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Undercroft at the UWI Mona campus on Tuesday, January 21. Dr. The Honorable Christopher Tufton is launching his new book, Wild Flavors. The book captures and highlights Jamaica's experience during the COVID-19 pandemic, the country's response to the global crisis, and more. Hear more about the book when you tune in to Nationwide at 5 on Tuesday, January 21 from 6 to 8 p.m. or visit the Undercroft at the UWI Mona campus. All this and more only on Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Woman's intuition, sixth sense of a man, insecurity, paranoia, jealousy, proof, hard evidence, or evidence that is hard. What comes first? How easy is it to know your partner is stepping outside of the relationship? And what kinds of activities come to mind? For some, it is face-to-face and the physical. For others, it just needs to be visual and video vixens. Voraciously or vicariously done. Are women really better at seeing the signs or just hiding the signpost? Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic: Red Flag. In the sheets or the streets? Red Flag. 2025 version. Red Flag. Red flags to know your partner is cheating. What a thing.
Busted. It's 2 damn o'clock in the morning. Where you been?
Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed. And Durex, distributed by Massey Distribution Limited, Jamaica.
Hi there. Here's some good news for these trying times. Quote, "By God's word, I can see where I'm going. They throw a beam of light on my dark path." Unquote. Psalm 119, verse 105. Listen for God's Word weekdays at 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. through
Oasis. Stop by for a refreshing drink and share a God perspective for the day.
Oasis. Weekdays 5:45 a.m. and 12:55 p.m. right here on Nationwide, a revolution in media.
The rebroadcast of the Oasis can be heard weekdays at 5:45 a.m.
Welcome back to Nationwide at 5, and we're coming to you this evening from the Undercroft of the University of the West Indies Mona campus. We're here for a book launch. The book, Wild Flavors. It's a book written by Dr. Christopher Tufton, the country's Minister of Health, and it's all about his experience and Jamaica's experience with the novel coronavirus beginning in March 2020.
Dr. Tufton joins us now, but just before we talk to him, I want to read for you listeners a section from the prologue of the book. It reads, "Patient 1 spent 3 weeks in isolation at the University Hospital of the West Indies in a ward that had just a couple of weeks before been converted to accommodate COVID-19 patients. She had not felt sick at all since the day she had gone to the doctor and been swabbed. Though she was asymptomatic, the discharge protocol was 2 negative swabs within 48 hours of each other. I met patient 1 the day she was discharged from hospital on April 3. She was subdued and reticent. It seemed to me that she was still somewhat in shock that she had been the one to start off the coronavirus pandemic in Jamaica. She did not even know when or from whom she had contracted the virus. The time in hospital had seemed pointless. The hospital stay was the least of it, however. Outside the hospital walls, back in the community, the real ordeal unfolded. I asked her, Dr. Tufton says, if she had any issues relating to stigma. She couldn't answer. so overcome with emotion. Her family members had become the object of scorn and disdain. They, in turn, were angry with her at the disruption her illness had brought on all of them. Though the ministry never revealed any information to the public about patient 1, nor about any person who tested positive for COVID-19, Jamaica is a small place. People in the 7 Mile area, which is predominantly lower income, including a number of captured land settlers, saw the health workers go into the home and made recordings that they posted on social media. The family was ostracized. A quote, "People walk on the other side of the road that we live now. The shop we had have a lock because no one is coming. Everybody's scared of us right now, but we are coping." Reading that, Cliff, Minister, I vividly remember when those two communities were quarantined. Yes, and I remember the fears that started to spread about who you talk to, where they are, and who you needed to stay away from. Minister Tufton, Wild Flavors, an insider account of Jamaica's journey through the crisis of the COVID pandemic. What inspired the book?
Well, I think very earlier on in with the information coming out of China and the technical assessment by the clinical team, the consultations with our multilateral partners, WHO and others, it was clear that this was an unprecedented event that was about to occur. And as history would have it, I was the man on the bridge, clearly supported by my cabinet and prime minister to chart the way forward. And there was a view that we needed to record as we went along the happenings on this event. And to do so, I took the decision in real time, which made it very personal. And hopefully out of that would come not just the story of COVID, but also the lessons learned from COVID. It was early that we compared COVID with the 100-year Spanish flu, and felt that this was a 1 in a 100-year event. So in a sense, it's where you were in history at the point in time, and it was just taking a decision that it was necessary not just for me, but also for the future, for future generations.
It reads like a novel. Was that deliberate?
It was very deliberate. I mean, early in the day, I took the decision. If you read my first book, it is somewhat similar, although a lot more personal about myself. But this one, I took a decision early that it was not going to be an academic piece. And I don't mean to disrespect academics. I am one too, or was one. It needed to be simple language, short chapters, and it would tell the story in a way that would be a human interest perspective. So you have people like Nurse Shuttlewood, really the symbol of public health and their interventions. You had Jodianne Ferron, you did a documentary on her. It was a real sad account. And so it would maintain a level of interest over time, while embedded in that would be the data and the lessons learned. So I wanted it to be read by the average person, anybody, no matter your economic status, educational level. And so we took deliberate steps to edit and re-edit to get that kind of simplicity.
The title, Wild Flavors. The moment I heard, I asked, Wild Flavors and COVID. Tell me.
Right. People who see the title for the first time, when I came up with it, a number of persons who were close to me said, why are you going there? But once you read chapter 3, you understand fully why the case. The original theory, and there's a subsequent theory around a lab leak, the original theory was that the virus spread from the wet markets in China. And if you look at the history of that, and some research was done, those wet markets were very popular and are very popular because they are viewed as having fresh, wild meat with exotic properties. And the classification of that is wild flavors. So having read the history of that origin, the wild flavors popped out at me as something that would stimulate interest and cause people to ask the question, as you are now. But once you get to chapter 3, importantly also, that chapter gives a history of many of the difficult viruses, and the fact that they all originated in animals, birds, and eventually came over to man. So it's this, bird flu, swine flu, and there are several others. So it's really educational when that research was done, because it showed the connectivity between wildlife, and as we encroach, why we have to be careful in terms of protecting ourselves against some of these diseases that are carried and can be transferred.
Take us back, because we recall, my recollection is, you'd have had long hours. We remember the frequent press briefings, we remember the COVID updates. We in the newsroom would wait with bated breath to see, what the positivity rate was each day. That must have been, on you personally, emotionally exhausting, was it?
Extremely. I mean, what I think about this book is that I recorded while I was in the moment, and so it's very personal. And there are parts of it that I can relate to, and I believe if the reader can too, other persons have said that. It was perhaps the most difficult time in my life and the most challenging, and it required a lot of balancing of various sectors, various elements, my own personal life, and you had to find a way to cope. And one of the interesting lessons around crisis leadership and management is self-care. For me, you cannot lead if you yourself are in a state of anxiousness, depression. You have to find a way to cope, and then you have to lead your team in a way that allows for coping mechanisms. So that lesson comes out very strongly, and I learned that early in the day, which is why I did my exercise, which is why I took periodic breaks out of town, which has its own interest there with the citizens' arrest when I was in Westmoreland, and those guys came up out of the water in Nicaragua. There's a chapter there dealing with that. So yeah, it was stressful, but after a while you learn to cope, and you also focus more on the people around you, because clearly I had to work with a team, and that was an expansive team, including the country. We could not show fear, even when we doubted ourselves, because if we did that, we would telecast further uncertainties and fear among the population.
Let me ask you, there's a part in the book where you said, I was caught without a mask.
Yes.
2 years after the declaration of the virus, the global pandemic.
Right.
And you related where you were at the Shensia function. Yes. How candid were you in talking and in writing?
There are a lot of things shared in the book which I believe, I had to think twice and sometimes 3 times to determine whether or not it should be shared. There are other things I put there and took out after a while because I had to consider others and the impact on others. But the Shensia moment in retrospect it can be amusing depending on how it's told. The truth is that we had taken a decision, the cabinet that is, to announce the suspension of mask wearing a few days forward. And I think we were so elated that it would have come. The country was not aware of it at the time, that we got carried away. Remember, it was me alone. It was Nigel Clark, myself, and a couple others. But I think it also represents a lesson which was worth talking about, because in these things as leaders, we have to be able to set the example. And if we breach the rules, then there are consequences for that. So I think the Prime Minister did the right thing by saying, listen, you breach the rules, and this is a consequence. No, and I think the message embedded in that is bigger than the punishment that was meted out.
Yeah.
You also deal with, there's a chapter called The Private Lives of Public Men, and you deal with what was then dubbed scandal involving Market Me. You talk about the fact that mainstream media sensationalized the situation. When you came under that kind of scrutiny, your private life obviously, was there any point you felt it wasn't worth it?
You always question yourself and wonder whether or not the decisions you made previous to that point was the right decision. And the truth is, I was always willing to pivot. Because in situations of this sort, when you learn to expect the unexpected and you have to adjust, you can't be rigid. This particular circumstance, I think, was, of course, very personal, and it did create a lot of hurt for a lot of people. And I had to manage it the best way. My response to it was to remain silent. I did not comment outside of an initial statement that was put out. And even though I had ample opportunity so to do, I felt it would have become a distraction. So I tried to deal with it behind the scenes in other ways. But yes, it was one of the big challenges that I faced during that period.
And for you personally?
And for me personally, of course, without a doubt.
It had profound impact on your family?
Yes, of course, and as it would on any family, it was a difficult time. And while you're doing that, you had to be doing all the other things that were important.
Did you ever know that it's passed? Did it ever cross your mind that you should offer the Prime Minister your resignation?
No, because I don't think it would impact, and in fact may have impacted negatively the greater good of the COVID response. I think that we were in a good place, relatively so, with all the challenges of managing the COVID pandemic. I think we had a good handle on what was happening. Based on the responses from the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, I think there was some confidence in my leadership. And to take a decision that would disrupt that may have hurt the response to the COVID pandemic. And I think, obviously I can't think for the Prime Minister. He, in his own wisdom, has to make that decision. And he decided not to, so I'd prefer to leave it there.
The chapter listeners, the public life of Prime Minister ends. Buckling under pressure was not an option. Now is not the time for self-pity, said one newspaper editorial. Dr. Tufton says he agreed. The editorial spoke to me directly. If you fail, we all fail.
That's the sentiment. So that I think was a Gleaner editorial. One day I got up and I saw it, and it was almost like a personal note from that newspaper. Clearly they sensed that there was a lot of pressure, and they took an editorial decision. And I think, well, I said it there, that I think it was a good position to take. And based on what has happened since that, I think the Prime Minister took that position also.
They need you, sir. I'm told that we need to shut up now and allow you to go start the function.
Even though I would have wanted to know if there was any point where you had to face down any of your cabinet colleagues. I know you were perhaps in tension with tourism at some point.
Well, look at it this way. When you are in uncharted waters, everybody has an opinion. And the right place to express those opinions at the level of policies around that big table. And if
the cabinet table.
The cabinet table. And if you have disagreements, that's the right place to do it, not outside. Clearly, we're bounded by secrecy, but I don't think it would be unusual or not expected that different stakeholder groups representing different interests would have different views. And that played out in the main sphere, and that played out among civil society, the business community, tourism interests. So the real challenge was, how do you juggle all of that? In fact, the book speaks to my own role in managing the clinical perspective, having met with the PS and the CMO, and getting the brief, getting the recommendations, and they were very narrowly focused on the clinical side, and then taking that and managing the greater good of a cabinet or indeed a country that had multiple other perspectives. That was a very difficult position because in a sense you could say you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. At some points you are not likely to please any of the sides, but you have to defend and protect the role that all sides play.
One last one.
Yeah, man.
You've been health minister now for
9 years next
9
month.
years. Yeah.
That's why I look so tired.
You come from a background and training in business, academia, marketing. Yes?
Marketing, international
business. Yeah. But no, you would have done some work already that would lead to a medical degree. You had to learn a lot of the clinical side of
What is interesting about it, 9 years is a long time. In fact, I'm searching to find another health minister who has served so long in the world, not Jamaica. And I was told by others outside of Jamaica that maybe this is the longest. But the experiences of that 9 years also accounts for something. I mean, I've seen ZICV, CHICV, the collapse of a major hospital, COVID, 1 year of a dengue outbreak, and all the other associated issues. So there is always a crisis. It has really made me a lot wiser in terms of what is needed. Some may say that, I've been there too long. I've heard some say that. But, I believe that the issues around bringing the forces together and providing the management of the process is perhaps the more important thing at this point in time. And having some institutional knowledge does help. And the truth is, the government has been on some very good programs. I mean, we're building out more than any time before. We're hiring more than any time before. Tomorrow we have the expo right here at the campus. We have 600 plus jobs to add to the cadre of workers once we can find them. We have the minister from the Philippines here doing collaboration and training. So there are a lot of exciting things are happening. We have to get the customer service right. Care with compassion.
Yep.
It's a cultural thing, and we have to work on that. But I do believe that we're in a better place today than we were in 2016, and clearly the Prime Minister thinks so too. Otherwise, I would not be Health Minister.
You've kept the job.
Huh?
You've kept the job.
Exactly, and I think that is the clearest indication that there's some confidence at that level.
My producer is starting to scold me, and your people are hovering.
Yes,
Minister Tufton, thank you so much.
Take care.
All right, Cliff.
Good.
We're coming to you live from the book launch of Wild Flavors, written by the Health Minister, Dr. Christopher Tufton. We are expecting to hear from the principal of the Mona campus here at the UWI, Denzel Williams, Professor Denzel Williams. We'll also hear from Dr. Teododo Ted Herbosa, the Secretary of Health from the Philippines, Dr. Maurice Guy.
Interestingly,
yes,
the former opposition spokesman on health, Dr. Maurice Guy, and a former president of the private sector organization of Jamaica, Howard Mitchell, and Professor Denise Eldamash Shearer, yes, Director of Aging and Wellness Center here at UWI. Let's go to the break.
KFC pop, popcorn chicken. KFC popcorn chicken. Incredible, delicious finger licking in the sauce when me dip it. I can't resist it. Once you start, you can't stop.
Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken. Now available in hot and spicy. Try with our new dipping sauces. KFC, it's finger licking good.
KFC popcorn chicken.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, Skills, Youth and Information, will host the Health and Wellness Career Expo and Employment Fair, January 22 and 23 at 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Attendees from all schools are asked to confirm participation via email to rsvpcareerexpo@moh.gov.jm. Expect interactive booth displays, entertainment, free health screenings, and more. See you at the 2025 Health and Wellness Career Expo and Employment Fair. A career in health, the roadmap to success.
Delicious meals, poolside cocktails, right on the beach. Disconnect from your daily worries and reconnect with the one you love. There's no paradise like home. Enjoy a romantic all-inclusive escape at Couples Tower Island, Couples Sans Souci in Ocherias from $395 USD per night. Take advantage of this offer today by calling Couples Resorts at 876-632-8200 or by visiting couples.com. Conditions apply.
Registration is now open for Sagicor Sigma Run 2025. Register now and get ready to run, walk, and wheel for a cause. Our beneficiaries are Sir John Golding Rehabilitation Center, Father Holang and Friends Foundation, and the Kingston Public Hospital. Be a part of Sagicor Sigma Run 2025. Make sure you're there on February 16 for the Caribbean's biggest road race. Visit SagicorSigmaRun.com and register now. Sponsored by Walden, Pan Jam, National Baking Company, Reggae Marathon, Catherine Speak, Malay Media, and Whistling Frog.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. We're coming to you live from the Undercroft, the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies, for the launch of a brand new book by the country's Minister of Health. It's called Wild Flavors, an insider account of Jamaica's journey through the crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic. And you know, Cliff, I've been thinking, in a lot of ways, so many of us have forgotten that 2-year period.
Yes.
The anxieties, you know, everything surrounding that period, the lockdowns, you know,
it was so disruptive.
Yeah, and it's almost as if we've moved on.
Yes.
So this reflection is timely, yeah? People need to understand, get the ability to go into his mind, what he was thinking, as the man at the helm of the government's response. We are going to be joined now by Professor of Public Health, Professor Denise Eldemeyer Shearer. She's the director of the Mona Aging and Wellness Center here at the UWI. Good evening, Professor.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm very well, and I'm delighted to be here.
Very well.
You've read Wild Flavors?
Yes.
Yes. And
I couldn't do the reflections without reading it.
your immediate reaction?
I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
I couldn't put it down. Once I started, the conversational way in which it is written, but with the facts of what happened, and of course, having been on the inside of the COVID response, it was real.
It's riveting.
That's the right word. I couldn't put it down. It took me 2 days, and I did nothing. I didn't go to sleep the night till about 1 o'clock.
Wow. So tell me, Professor, you are very experienced at this business of public health. How useful is a book such as Wild Flavors?
I think it's incredibly useful, Cliff. And I think it's useful because public health had become the Cinderella. And I think from the beginning of COVID, and all those foot soldiers out there, those public health nurses, those public health inspectors, which he gives credit to in the book, made people realize that public health was really the backbone of the country. When I was younger in public health, we would walk, we would do vaccines, we would do all of those things. But we've become high-tech over the years. And I think we lost sight of the importance of the everyday measures, the sanitation, etc. And I think that the book started during it, but it has so clearly documented it. When he writes in the book about contact tracing till 10 o'clock at night, and he talks about going into the hillsides, and he talks about the vaccines and the vaccines lines. The country gets a sense of the importance of public health. Yes. I think it's going to be critical for public health in teaching. He has real-life scenarios in there. If you put that side by side with the COVID conversations and the epidemiological charts from Dr. Webster Carr, can you see that as a teaching tool?
Yes, definitely.
And I think what's also very important, and I will say so later, this is an insider story. We have no documentation of the first pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
I was not able on Google to find another insider documentation of every step of the journey. Can you imagine this book in 30 years' time when something else happens?
Invaluable.
And somebody says, where's the story?
Professor, what stands out in your mind from that period of the country's battle against COVID-19?
People's behavior and people's response. Panic. We weren't ready. And I think the resilience, that also stands out.
Did that surprise you? That we were so resilient, the health sector or people?
I think, yes, it surprised me. The health sector response did not surprise me. I've been in the health sector for 45 years. I knew that the health sector, both public health and things, would step up to the plate. We've done so before. We've done so in HIV. We've done so when there was the threat of Ebola, although it didn't come. H1N1 tested us, 12, 14 years ago. But I think the people were more resilient. I think the older people were particularly resilient. There was a lot of conversation nationally and internationally as to the appropriateness of lockdowns of older people. Were we violating rights? And I remember a conversation that I had at one of my meetings internationally, and somebody said to me, put away your geriatric cap, wear your public health hat that says protect the population. We also did a survey as we were going through the vaccines. As you know, Mona Aging and Wellness did over 70,000. And we asked older people, and we got a common response. Government is caring and government is protecting us. So they actually appreciated the lockdown.
Yeah. Wow.
When you look back, is there anything you think as a country we could have done differently or better?
No, and I'm going to explain that, because clearly there are things.
Yeah.
I don't think that none of us had any experience with this size of pandemic. We learned as we went along. So in hindsight, there were things we could have done better. And maybe testing was a disaster. Maybe we should have been able to do that. But I think we learned.
Yeah.
I think we learned.
Right. Professor Denise Elderman Shearer, Director, Aging and Wellness Center here in Jamaica.
She's going to give the reflection at this evening's event, the national anthem.
Get ready for a day of inspiration and innovation at UCC BDCI's Conversations for Greatness. Join us on January 23 at 10 a.m. at UCC, 17 Worthington Avenue in Kingston for an exciting and informative day of activities. Connect with industry leaders like Michael Andre Collins, join interactive workshops, and witness a live pitch competition that could transform business ideas into reality. Don't wait. Visit www.bdci.co to register now. Conversations for Greatness, where great minds meet and future leaders are made.
Pay nothing down on a shiny, brand new Hyundai vehicle with free loan payment until March 2025. Yes, get a 2024 Hyundai vehicle and get free loan payment until March 2025. 100% financing, 2 years free service, 0 processing fees, and other sweet goodies. Drive into the new year with your new ride. Goodbye, old car. Hello, Hyundai. Hyundai. For free payment.
Welcome back. It's 6:42 in the evening of Tuesday, January 2025. We're coming to you from the Undercroft at the University of the West Indies, Mona campus. It's the launch of Wild Flavors, and the formal proceeding is about to begin with a moderator being the former Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Dunstan Brand.
Because we do have several things celebrating. We're, of course, here to celebrate the launch of this book. But we are here today also to celebrate another year around the sun. Where are you going? We're going to sing happy birthday to you, Come on. So join me in singing happy birthday to the Honorable Minister, Christopher Tufton. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Christopher. At the first time I call him that. Happy birthday to you. And many more. My agent is Dr. Simone Spence. You can see her at the back. I do weddings and funerals. And book launches. So, My name is Dunstan Bryan, and I have the dubious task today of being the moderator for this book launch. And as I look out into the audience, I am amazed. And my amazement comes from the fact that Mr. Baker didn't come to the book launch and measure all of you 6 feet apart. Those were the good old days, eh? 6 feet apart, hand washing stations, masks, and all of the rest. But it's very important that we understand and appreciate the power of reflection, the power of taking stock, and, okay, all right, 6 feet apart, and the power of ensuring that we document the experience of the past. I would like to take the opportunity to welcome you all, but I have such a long list of very, very important persons in this audience. I am going to ask your indulgence, however, as I may break some of the protocols for acknowledgement, because we do have such a very powerful list of persons here to recognize this moment. But give me a moment to recognize our specially invited guest, all the way from the Philippines, the Honorable Dr. Teodoro Ted Herbosa. But we also must recognize the presence of former Prime Minister, the Honorable Bruce Golding, who is seated in the front. We have members of Parliament here, but more importantly, we have a Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Orlando Terrelong. Minister, good day. His Worship the Mayor is also here, Mr. Andrew Swaby. Sir Swaby. We have from the university, the principal of the university, Sir. Be careful, here's what I have to do. You have to understand me. I'm on study leave, so I'm at the university now studying. So because I'm at the university studying, I really have to pay homage and do my due diligence when it comes on to the hierarchy of the university. So, Sir Principal, Professor Denzel Williams, we acknowledge you. And I also want to acknowledge my supervisor for my thesis, Dr. Eldemar Shearer, as well as Dr. Stephen Johnson. So I'm breaking protocol there. We also want to recognize our international partners, the representation from the Diplomatic Corps who is here. We also want to recognize the powerful presence of the private sector. And what this event demonstrates, especially when it comes to COVID and our response to COVID, is the collective response of the power of the people of Jamaica. Jamaica did well for COVID. Why? Because we all saw the common threat and we responded in like manner. I am deeply honored to be here to recognize all of you and to say to you that this book represents a labor of love. And therefore, we encourage you to purchase a copy. It's at the back. The soft copy is 3,500 and the hard copy 4,000. But we also want to, 5,000, beg your pardon, 5,000. But we want to say to you that this book is an opportunity for us to reflect. A lot of people forget just the fear that COVID represented. A lot of people forget just how much ignorance was in the room at the beginning of COVID, right across the world. A lot of people forget that we stood the test of time, and Jamaica as a country is one of the beacons of recovery coming out of that experience because of that collective response. So powerful was that collective response that we told Jamaicans to stay home, and they did. So we are indeed grateful to you, Dr. Tufton, for this opportunity to document what we experienced and to document from your vantage point as one of the leaders. And as we go through this ceremony, I just want to thank all of the support team for this, for pulling this together. But we firstly want to acknowledge the university, this citadel of intellectual capacity. So at this point in time, I ask Professor Denzel Williams to come and provide. Not on the program. All right, so sorry, and my apologies. We have a 5-minute video that we'll now show before we turn over to Dr. Williams' video.
Trees dance when the wind blows. Looking at all I've been through.
Awaiting the beginning of a 5-minute video presentation. They're having a challenge, difficulty bringing up that video, as stated by the moderator, Dunstan Bryan. But after the video, we'll be hearing from the professor and principal at the University of the West Indies, Denzel Williams. Here's the moderator again.
And then we will proceed after that. So, Dr. Williams.
Thank you very much, the illustrious and elusive Mr. Dunstan Bryan. You know, when we were told that we're going to launch Wild Flavors, and I said to somebody, I'm going to speak at Dr. Tufton's book launch on Tuesday. They said, who, that imposter? I said, really? He said, yes, because he's an academic parading as a politician. So I said to them, when you read Wild Flavors, you can make up your mind. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it is so good to be here and to welcome all of you to our very beautiful and humble home, the University of the West Indies Mona campus. Welcome all. It is indeed my distinct pleasure to make a few comments about this important piece of work by Dr. Tufton. But before I do so, I would really like to follow on from the protocols, but just to quickly highlight a few members who are here with us this evening. Let me highlight Prime Minister Golding, Minister Terrelong. I would also like to highlight our really esteemed guest, Theodoro Herbosa, and also our distinguished reflectionist this evening, Professor the Most Honorable Denise Eldemeyer Shearer, and the Mayor of Kingston, and also former leader of the opposition, Dr. Peter Phillips is here somewhere. So, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, one and all, this is important. This is an important evening to take a moment to reflect on the important journey that we actually took as a country in managing one of the most, I would say, mercurial events in the last 100 years, and that's the COVID-19 pandemic. And it is indeed an important observation that Dr. Tufton has made in Wild Flavors to give us a real account as to how this process unfolded and what the role of policy is in dealing with this particular issue. And so, anybody would appreciate that good policy research strikes a balance between what is theoretically sound and what is empirically feasible. In my view, that Tufton actually struck that balance in Wild Flavors by using action research to tell the story about how policy played an important role in managing the COVID-19 crisis. Those of you who know Chris will know that it is unsurprising that he went for action research as the methodological lens through which to frame his book. And why do I say that? Chris is the product of Manchester Business School, that bastion of academic excellence, where action research was indeed one of the major tools that we used in the early 2000s at Manchester. So it was not surprising that Chris would have gone for action research to ground his work on this important subject today. He would have learned some of the best in terms of methodology that was now used when you read Wild Flavors to ground the scholarship in the book. This evening, I'm pretty sure that Professor Scherer will give a more detailed account of the contents of the book. But I hope you don't tell too much because we want them to buy the book. But what I will say to you, having read the book and had a first-hand account of what is in there before it came to the publishers, is that the book makes for interesting reading. It really should be compulsory reading, not only for persons in the healthcare sector, but for any general policymaker who really is interested in how you make policies in times of crises. This work understands and underscores the complexity of crisis management and the role that policy plays in ensuring that you have the best possible outcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, this evening I will recommend the book to you, and I will say thank you, Dr. Tufton, for this book. Thank you very much.
Principal of the Univ campus, Professor Denzel Williams.
Thank you.
Here's the moderator.
The video that you're about to see is a reflection, and that's the theme for this particular presentation, reflection. And it comes out of just some snippets of what the experience of public health was, seen through the eyes of the person who led the discourse and the intervention. In February of 2020, once we heard that the WHO had declared COVID a pandemic, we had a presentation from our epidemiologists. And the numbers were frightening. We recalled that meeting when we were told if we did nothing to respond to the pandemic as we were experiencing it, we would have at least 2.6 million cases of COVID. We were told that we would have at least 890,000 persons who would need to come to the hospital to seek medical attention. We were also told that we could have a case fatality that could lead us into thousands. The video that you're about to see is how the experience evolved and how, as a country, we responded through public health.
Well, they are having audio problems. The video is being shown, lockdown, and it shows Tufton, on the ground. but there's no audio. So that is taking away from the effectiveness of the video second time round. Yes? This is not going well. So I suspect that the moderator, Mr. Bryan, will have to come back and give the producers a little bit more time to get it together. All right? But let's go to the break and come back. Listening to the video now being played. I'm sorry. Well, we are going to go back now to studio. I'm sorry, but this is not working. All right, let's go back to studio.
Enough power tool, big to small. Jackama figure dig the wall. Our total tools. Weed whacker figure trim the lawn. We have everything a job demand. Total tools. We rent them, sell them and fix them. Also give Total Tools a call. When I say home improvement, landscape construction, or Total Tools are your option. Home improvement, landscape construction, Total Tools are your option.
Total Tools, located at 102 Main Street, Ocho Rios, 34 Slipe Road, Kingston. And lot C6 Jacksaw, Sentence Bay. Call us today.
KFC pop, popcorn chicken. KFC popcorn chicken. Incredible, delicious, finger licking in this house when me dip it. I can't resist it. Once you start, you can't stop.
Do whatever the crunch you want with KFC's popcorn chicken. Now available in hot and spicy. Try with our new dipping sauces. KFC, it's finger licking good.
KFC popcorn chicken.
Take your business to the next level. Join Jamaica Stock Exchange at its landmark 20th Regional Investment and Capital Markets Conference from the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel, January 21st to 23rd, 2025. 3 exciting days of powerful, inspiring, and innovative presentations. Hear from industry experts and entrepreneurs from the Caribbean, USA, Canada, Latin America, and Africa. Come, connect, and network. Reserve your spot at www.jamstockex.com or call 876-967-3271.
Get ready for a day of inspiration and innovation at UCC BDCI's Conversations for Greatness. Join us on January 23 at 10 a.m. at UCC, 17 Worthington Avenue in Kingston for an exciting and informative day of activities. Connect with industry leaders like Michael Andre Collins, join interactive workshops, and witness a live pitch competition that could transform business ideas into reality. Don't wait. Visit www.bdci.co to register now. Conversations for Greatness, where great minds meet and future leaders are made.
Well, welcome back to the book launch of Wild Flowers by Chris Tufton, and the Secretary of Health of the Philippines, Dr. Teodoro Herbosa, is now addressing
all the dignitaries here, distinguished guests, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good evening to all. First of all, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the warm invitation to visit your country. This is my first time to the Caribbean. I come from the Pacific. And the country, this is my first time in Jamaica. We are truly honored and excited to experience the rich culture, the vibrant traditions, and the natural beauty that make Jamaica such a special place. Tonight, we commemorate not only one, but 2 very important events. The official launch of an astonishing and amazing book, and the birthday of the gifted author of the book, Wild Flavors, Dr. Christopher Tufton, the Minister of Health and Wellness. We met in 2023, September, right, in Harvard. We were two non-Africans in a course designed for ministers of health in different countries from Africa. We were the two externals. We became good friends, and we realized there were many things common to our two island nations. Tonight, it is not just about unveiling the pages bound together. It is about the culmination of years of hard work, passion, and dedication. It is about the spirit of creativity born out of dire but beautiful experiences during the COVID-19 pandemic that flowed through every word, every chapter, and every sentence. It's also important to me because I was the spokesperson of the national government, one of the spokesperson of the national government during the COVID-19 pandemic in my country. This book is not more than just a record of events. It is a testament of the strength of a people, the Jamaican people, in the face of adversity. It tells stories of individuals who went above and beyond, of families and communities who supported each other, and of medical professionals who worked tirelessly on the front lines, and of leaders who guided us through a crisis with dedication and foresight. In the pages of this book, we find moments of hardship, moments of fear, moments of loss, but also moments of hope, innovation, and unity. It is a reflection of how we faced the unthinkable, the uncertainty, but more importantly, how we continue to rise, rebuild, and move forward together. As we all know, the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted every corner of the globe, reshaping the way we live, work, and interact. But what makes the book so special is that it offers a first-hand look at how Jamaica, its people, its healthcare workers, its leaders, and its communities face the challenges with courage amidst adversity, navigating through uncertainty and hardship with resilience, compassion, and a collective spirit. I am genuinely impressed by the personal reflections shared by Dr. Chris Tufton in this book, offering readers an intimate glimpse into the struggles and aspirations of a leader who bears the weight of a nation, and on his shoulders, his openness reveals a rare vulnerability and humanity. Indeed, Wild Flavors highlights not only the steadfastness of his faith, but also the depth of his character and integrity. Tonight, Dr. Chris, I want to personally congratulate you for writing this book. You are incredibly unique in the way you inspire those around you and your commitment to your craft. You have demonstrated to us all that remarkable things can be achieved through hard effort, enthusiasm, and ingenuity. You've written a book that speaks not only to the heart, but to the soul. Your words have touched those who know you personally, and they will surely touch the lives of many readers. I have no doubt that this is just the beginning of what will be a long and successful writing journey. As we celebrate this exciting milestone, we are also reminded of the importance of continued vigilance in public health. The COVID-19 pandemic had underscored the need for collective action, while other emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases and health threats remind us that we must stay prepared. Your leadership in responding to these challenges have been inspiring, and the insights you share in Wild Flavors will undoubtedly contribute to the ongoing conversations about health, nutrition, wellness, resilience in these uncertain times. To everyone who contributed to this book, whether through their words, their stories, or their efforts, you are part of these milestones, and I salute all of you. Once again, happy birthday, my dear friend, Dr. Chris, and congratulations on this significant achievement, and I wish you all the best as your book reaches readers far and beyond. Thank you very much.
The Secretary of Health for the Philippines, Dr. Teodoro Ted J. Herbosa. They met at Harvard at a course of health ministers of Africa. He said they were the two externals. All right, here's the moderator again.
To share this opportunity for reflection. We now have the opportunity to reflect in a different way through the talent and the effervescence of the Ashe Ensemble. So, Ashe.
We are waiting on the performing arts group Ashe. Yeah.
When Patient Z was stepped off the British Airways flight from London to Kingston on Wednesday, March 4, 2020, she had no idea that she would be the first COVID-19 case in Jamaica. She had traveled with her husband and their 2-year-old son to attend a family funeral. Her aunt, who she considered her granny, had passed away. This was a final send-off she could not miss. Though the ministry never revealed any information to the public about patient 1, nor about any person who tested positive for COVID-19, Jamaica is a small place. The entire world had gone into lockdown. From the moment that we at the Ministry of Health and Wellness were in agreement that the virus was heading towards us, we were in a race against time. Furthermore, the Jamaican economy had only just stabilized after a long period of stagnation and decline and a brutal spell of economic hardship. However, it was not all doom and gloom. What we did have was a robust surveillance system, as infectious diseases were not new to Jamaica. We had experience in contact tracing, most recently in 2006 when we had a malaria outbreak and some 4,000 people were infected. That system of frontline workers would prove to be invaluable in the COVID-19 response to come.
You won't live to see the future that you fight for. Maybe no one gets to reach that perfect day. If the work is never over, then how do you keep marching anyway? Do you carry your banner as far as you can, rewriting the world with your imperfect pen, till the next stubborn girl picks it up in a picket line over and over again, as you join in the chorus of centuries chanting to her. Path will be twisted and risky and slow, but keep marching, keep marching. Will you fail or prevail? Well, you may never know, but keep marching and keep marching, 'cause your ancestors are all the proof need that progress is possible, not guaranteed. It will only be made if we keep marching, keep marching on. Keep marching on. Keep marching on.
And remember every mother that you came with. Learn as much from our success as our mistakes. Don't forget you're merely one of many others on the journey every generation makes.
We did not end injustice, and neither will you. We make strides, so we know you can too. Make peace with our incomplete power and use it for, 'cause there's so much to do. So much to do. There is so much to do.
The gains will be small and the losses too long.
Keep marching.
Keep marching.
Keep marching. You rarely agree with whoever's in charge. Keep marching. Keep marching.
story.
Wild Flavors is a story of our survival and management of the COVID epidemic.
It's the story of fear, anxiety, uncertainty, and triumph. We were all vulnerable to COVID-19.
These were unprecedented times. Jamaica had to ride and whistle.
Navigating several challenges, including hospital preparedness, frontline workers in the field, vaccine availability, mass inoculation, and stigma. We did better than most in terms of death rate per capita.
Wild Flavors is an excellent testament to the tribute of our frontline workers who brought us through.
We have great praise and appreciation for them. In the first year of the pandemic, considering all the secondary effects we experienced, the issue of stigma was one of the most troubling and challenging. The public health nurses were having a very rough time. As many times as it was repeated that the disease is not a death sentence, as often as it was said that eventually the majority of Jamaicans would contract it, the stigma persisted.
Yo, don't discriminate against the people because you're sick. Oh, you would have feel.
Don't do that.
Oh, you would have feel.
If you would want it back. Oh, you could look on a woman and you want to raise your hand like you don't understand, so she never really planned for sick. You think a trick, she a trick?
Oh, you would have feel.
And if a little man cough, you want him off. Like your brain soft, you want pop. You want Moses?
Tell me how you would have feel if I you them stone, if you are the family, if you catch COVID-19.
No, we need to respect one another.
Step in the shoes of your sister.
How you would have feel.
Don't do that. If you would want it back.
This was one of the messages from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Chapter 49, Dream Weekend. It was a no-win situation. The crisis brought on by the pandemic required that at any given time, any policy had to aim towards a greater good, not an absolute good. An absolute good just did not exist. And by this time, we, the government, accepted we will never please everybody, and that in fact, we had lost ground in trying to please everybody. The health ministry was tasked to develop protocols and guidelines for a safe reopening. But in the end, it wasn't just about policies, it was about people. We are one big family. No one will have to beg to eat. If we live in a world of dignity, no man will have to live on the street. If I tell you you're a part of me, there's no need for disbelief. So here's my hand to let you know that what we dream, we all can hold. Apart we are weak, together we're strong. Oh, people, we are until this world. We are living these words together, forever. There's no reason. Build a world that we want together.
Quiet giants
or frontline
rule
workers.
the kingdom. But in their time of need, who do the strong ones lean on?
We salute you.
Quiet giant, you don't see them.
You were the real heroes.
What they do to help us all.
We salute you.
The pandemic was not over, nor had the virus gone away. But I felt satisfied that the decisions we had taken were the right ones, particularly as regards to the public health economic trade-off. And the public largely agreed. A Bill Johnson poll had found that I had a 79% approval rating, the highest of any health minister ever. I believe much of that was linked to pandemic management, and this was said by Minister Tufton in Chapter 27, COVID Stop Keep.
Well, while Flavors transcends the boundaries of a mere pandemic chronicle, it's an exploration of crisis leadership guided by Tufton's authoritative voice and shaped by his pivotal role as portfolio minister.
This book stands as a testament to Tufton's public commitment to public service, spotlighting his calming maturity and judgment to crucially overcoming fears, anxiety, and coordinating stakeholders. It also underscores the importance of unity,
resilience,
and collective responsibility, making it clear that we all are one family, working together to overcome challenges.
Congratulations and happy birthday, Minister.
We are family. I got all my family with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing. We are family. I got all my family with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
Everyone can see we're together as we walk all by.
And to fly just like birds of a feather. I won't tell no lie.
All of my people around us, they say we can be this close.
And that for the record,
We're sharing love in a family dose.
we are family.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
I got all my family with me.
I got all my family with me.
We are family.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Get up, everybody, and sing. We are family. I got all my family with me. We are family. Get up, everybody, and sing.
Come on now.
All right, we're celebrating. It's a celebration. Come on.
It's a celebration. It's a celebration. Celebrate good times. Come on. It's a celebration. Celebrate good times. Come on. It's a celebration.
There's a party going on right here.
A celebration. That's the rock again.
So bring your good times
And your laughter too. We're gonna celebrate your party with you. Celebration. Let's all celebrate and have a good time. Celebration. Let's all celebrate and have a good time.
It's time to come together. It's up to you. What's your pleasure?
And we can ride the boogie. Share that beat of love. Some diggy diggy dong da dong da dong. Some diggy diggy dong da dong da dong. Some da dong da dong. we'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, 'cause we are the champions.
The Ashe Ensemble, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together one more time. And you will recognize that one of the themes that came out of that presentation was the theme of unity. And unity is what caused the effect that resulted in Jamaica's success in our response to COVID-19. And I take the opportunity now to recognize the former president of the People's National Party and leader of the opposition, Dr. Peter Phillips, and to recognize the former opposition spokesman on health, Dr. Maurice Guy. And I remember at many of the PAAC meetings, Dr. Guy was considerate in his grilling of the civil servants when we came to make our presentations to Parliament. And so, Dr. Guy, it is appropriate that you are provided this opportunity at this time, sir, to give your remarks as we reflect on COVID-19 through this Wild Flavor book. Dr. Guy, put your hands together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator, former Permanent Secretary, former Grillee. I'd like to associate myself with the protocols that have been established. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. It is with much pleasure that I accept the invitation of Dr. Christopher Tufton to bring greetings at the launch of his book, Wild Flavors. Around a year ago, Chris mentioned to me that he was doing a book on the COVID experiences in Jamaica, as something like this needs to be recorded for posterity as well as learning. Quite frankly, Chris, I was expecting to see a compilation mainly for academics and technocrats. Tufton being the academic, as the principal said earlier, prior to entering the political arena. But to my surprise, we have a publication which is easy reading for every man, woman, and child. The piece chronicles his experiences and his challenges during the more than 2 years, when towards the end, people had become impatient with the measures and had to remind it in some instances that COVID not done. Experience during that time was none. Ignorance was plenty. In fact, experiences were as novel as the virus itself was, the novel coronavirus. Challenges were many, some of which he, the author, spoke to in the book on a broad basis, but not as detailed as the almost weekly scrutiny, Permanent Secretary, he faced from my side in the Parliament as the program identified me, and as I was then the opposition spokesman on health and wellness, having been appointed by the then leader of opposition only 3 months prior to that. The exchanges, and might I add, the critiques were many. The differences were equally so, because each side wanted what it felt was best for the people of Jamaica. politics aside, the period was one of uncharted waters. In spite of the historical lessons learned from the previous flu pandemics, we were in deep waters. In another audience, I would put another, leave it there. Might have even been as profound as Columbus's voyage to the New World. What, however, was a period of soberness was a cooperation on shared views between the opposition and the government. It saw us rallying the troops to the vaccination sites in a whole-of-country approach. Minister and Shadow Minister in a joint video promo encouraging people to get vaccinated. Politics aside, whether it was due to fear or the commonality of our destiny in the approaching pandemic, when the presumed positive case of the businessman returning from Hong Kong was in the air, January 28, 2020, my WhatsApp record revealed me reaching out to Tufton. Probably it was bumptiousness on my part, but it read as follows, and I quote, "Minister, trying to get to you. I gather you're having an emergency press conference today. In the national spirit, I'm available to attend if so minded." And on March 2, Minister reached out to me, invited me to a meeting over coffee at Sovereign North, but had to reschedule to his office due to time constraints. The cooperation showed between both sides in the national effort was in deep contrast to what was at times perceived in the parliament. No doubt mistakes were made, and Chris acknowledged some of these in his book. No doubt other decisions could have been made, and some he also spoke to. There were many lessons learned which definitely will help for future public health planning. There's a former senior government minister whose cut-to-the-chase expression was, "We are where we are." We are here tonight. We have survived as a nation despite the battering the country and the economy received during the period. We are at the launch of this book, an insider account of Jamaica's journey through the crisis of the COVID pandemic. Christopher Tufton has written as the insider, occupying the highest insider seat, as the insider making the heavy and hard decisions, as the health head wearing the crown. What is poignant about this period is the many frontline public health care workers who died serving their country and protecting Jamaica from illnesses. And I'm happy that he has dedicated this book to them. I commend this as a read to all persons, but more so in the health as well as the policy-making sector. Congratulations on this publication, Chris. Hope it will make some funds for you. And by the way, thanks for the complimentary coffee. And happy birthday. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I told you he was gracious in his comments. But unity is not just in the political sphere. Unity also represents the entire non-state actors and private sector organizations that came together to respond. The private sector coalesced around the vision for the response and responded in time, talent, and treasure. And so it is only appropriate that we ask Mr. Howard Mitchell, who was the past president and the president of the PSOJ at the time, to come now and give his remarks. Sir Mitchell.
Good evening. In the interest of time, and given all the greetings that have gone before, I'd like to just say all protocols observed. Except that I want to welcome Dr. Theodore welcome to Jamaica, and I hope you come here a lot and you bring all those lovely, good-looking nurses with you when you do. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that quite a few of you are aware of the friendship which I am privileged to share with the Honorable Minister. And in fact, many of you would say that because of the public differences of opinion which we have had from time to time, I could also be described as his best frenemy. Whatever it is a tribute to his tremendous ability to manage and accommodate criticism and to encourage constructive dialogue that our friendship has prospered over the years. And I am honored and salute him for his wisdom and his patience with my sometimes intemperate remarks. Minister, I have great respect for the work you do and for your honesty and commitment, and I wish the best for you. Happy birthday. My role in this, I can call it an event, this episode, was largely a logistical one, moving vaccines through multiple jurisdictions in difficult geopolitical circumstances, as described in the book, was not easy. But the support team at the National Health Fund, notably Mr. Everton Anderson, the CEO, and Mr. Ivor Corey, the procurement manager, along with the staff who actually cleared the vaccines through customs and got them to the point of delivery, supported and reduced my role to a mere commentator of the progress. The Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Mrs. Kamina Johnson-Smith, and Minister Tufton moved mountains to make the task relatively simple. And as I will elaborate very shortly, the private sector never hesitated to respond to the most difficult of appeals. There are a number of significant lessons to be learned from this episode in our history, and I congratulate Dr. Tufton for setting them out in explicit detail in the book. I won't go into the detailed listing of those lessons, but understand that this book is the foundation of a blueprint for dealing with public health crisis, and indeed national crisis of almost every description. Not so much because of what it explicitly sets out, but also in what it represents and demonstrates implicitly. Ladies and gentlemen, no society can survive and overcome large-scale challenges without unity, without unified community action. But unity cannot be effectively commanded. It must be led by example and encouragement. Unity is nurtured and fed by transparency, accountability, and honesty. It is motivated by sacrifice and by the loyalty of its leadership to civil and state institutions and to the people who are in the front line of the challenge. And this book memorializes that. You cannot successfully lead by tearing down the institutions that support the functioning of your ministry or your society. If you make changes, if you must make changes, if you must enforce discipline and correct wrong strategies, you must do so firmly and without rancor and with respect. Ladies and gentlemen, I can testify to observing moments when the minister and his team were at odds in strategic and tactical approaches. And it is natural that these differences will occur. However, I cannot truthfully say that I saw disrespect or malice in any of these exchanges. And I can say that after the moment of stress had passed, I saw a restoration of civility and common judgment. So the overarching and imperative lesson that we must take from this experience and apply to the next epidemic when it comes, and it will come, is that tribalism must take a back seat to nationalism. In fact, it must leave the room. And egotism, likewise, cannot sit in that room. I can say here I can say here that I received explicit instructions to accommodate the opposition shadow minister of health at all times. Perhaps those instructions were unnecessary, but they were made nonetheless. I was told to be as open as possible to the media and the public, because that is how trust is restored. And I carried out those instructions to the best of my ability and continue to have respect for the person who gave them to me. I think a deeper reading of this book reveals that it is not just an attempt to establish a record of a crisis and to impart lessons for the future, but also an insight into how imperfect human leadership can make the best of difficult times. I therefore commend the book, not only as an academic learning tool, but for wider reading by those who have an interest in how small island developing states can cope with survival challenges within a democratic framework by unifying the social institutions in common cause. Mistakes were made, but understandably so. And those mistakes can be corrected next time, and the next time will come. Jump higher, jump low. So we must apply the leadership lessons. It remains only for me to recognize the persons and entities who played a more silent role in supporting the responses described in the book. The private sector organization of Jamaica, led by Mr. Keith Duncan, the chair of the private sector vaccine initiative, Mr. Christopher Zaka, assisted by Mr. Peter Melhedo, the Jamaica Customs, the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, the members of the diplomatic community who provided invaluable help in ensuring the legitimacy of the vaccine providers and of the vaccine products themselves, the businessman who provided his jet to transport vaccines without charge and without notice, the officers of the Ministry of Health who put up with my ignorance of their rules, my impatience with bureaucracy, and my tendency to be abusive of delay. The list is not complete, but time is short, and I can only express thanks to all. Minister, I congratulate you on this effort, and I'm comforted that you have demonstrated an ability to find occupation outside of the political arena.
You've been listening to the past president of the PSOJ, Mr. Howard Mitchell, reflecting on the role that the private sector would have played during those pivotal years of COVID-19. We have with us, all the way from the Philippines, the Secretary of Health, Dr. Herbosa. Of course, you heard him earlier making remarks, talking about the relationship he had been able to forge with Dr. Tufton. Welcome to Nationwide at 5, Dr. Herbosa.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everyone.
Good evening. So let me ask you first of all, so you had that relationship with Dr. Tufton. What was it like in the Philippines when you had to confront the pandemic?
I was at that time executive vice president of the largest university, similar to, I think, called the University of the Philippines, and because my field was disaster medicine, I was called to become a special advisor of the National Task Force against COVID-19. And what happened there was I initially was making all the drafts for the spokesperson, mostly in the military, because most of the generals were the ones that took over during the crisis. That's our situation in national security. But eventually, they realized because of the uncertainty that I had to be the one to speak, because the general couldn't answer the questions about so eventually I became the spokesperson, and I was the one being listened to. That landed me my current job. I wanted to be president of the university, but now they've given me the job as Minister of Health of the Republic of the Philippines because of my work in COVID. So we had very similar experiences. We got recognized for the work we did for our countries in COVID.
Yeah. And having come through that experience, you would have been first advising and then stepping up into the role as Secretary of State for Health. When you look back, what are some of the lessons from the management of that entire period?
Well, very important is that when things are uncertain, the key is risk communication. That was the uncertainty. People, they needed something to hang on. They need people to explain to understand risk. And in the book he mentioned, it's really not about the absolute, but actually what you will try to attain out of that. So that's, I think, most important, being able to communicate the risk of a pandemic. Are you going to die? Are you going to get sick?
Yeah.
So this is the most important part. And then the hard part is for those who got infected and who got sick. How do we detect, treat, and isolate these people so to prevent the pandemic from growing? So these were very important times, and we all learned it's a post-COVID world. We're back with our ministries of health now deal with many diseases, not just one disease. We now fight hypertension, diabetes, NCDs, mental health.
Yes.
And it's an interesting time that at that time we had only fear of one disease, yet there are many diseases. Today in the post-COVID world, we have to go back to reality and fight many, many diseases.
And would you say, Dr. Herbosa, that the experience in confronting COVID-19 has assisted in building resilience in the health system in the Philippines?
Yes, of course, definitely. We've realized our gaps. So what a pandemic or any crisis does is expose the gaps in your system. I'm sure that's what it did in Jamaica as well. It exposed the gaps, and this allowed you to fix the gaps. So this is your next goal, is to fix all of this either deficit or improvements that need to be done to really help the healthcare to give the delivery of healthcare to people that need them.
If you could look back and choose the three concrete things that you think you'll take with you going into the future, what would those be?
Well, I think the important thing is risk management. In crisis, what I've learned is not exactly what he said, not the absolute saving each and every life, but actually minimizing the risk. This is the same as you handle non-communicable disease, hypertension. How do you prevent this risk from the people in Jamaica, for example?
Was that a difficult thing for you to accept that you're going to lose some citizens, that you can't save everybody? Was that difficult to accept?
It was easier for me because I'm in the field of disaster medicine. That's why I became an advisor. We talk about triage, mass casualties, typhoons, hurricanes. So this is the type of mentality I brought in when I became an advisor. The other people that were advising were people from the infectious disease specialties, which worked in hospitals. They never worked in field for many people in a pandemic. So they were listening and learning from some of the principles I taught them. Number one is prioritize. Number two, logistics. It's all about bringing logistics to people. And number three, what we call effect-related care. If you're going to do an intervention, it has to have impact and effect on whether a person lives or dies. So if there's no effect, might as well not do that policy. That's called effect-related care.
And so far now, having stepped up as Secretary of Health, are you enjoying the job?
Well, I meet great people like Chris, and realizing that 9,900 miles away there is an island with similar goals and aspirations as we do, and that the realization that middle-income countries can actually help each other better than first world or well-developed countries that will look after us in the guise of helping us, but in the end, it's really their own benefit. But with Chris, it's a friendship that struck out of the sincerity and integrity that, hey, we can learn lessons from each other. A team from Jamaica had been to the Philippines in December, and they said, it's really interesting that we can learn from countries that are not first world because, innovation, the need is really the mother of innovation. And that's where we come from. I think that when we discussed today, I visited Bustamante Hospital, the first hospital in Jamaica. I'm so impressed that they're able to do 10 liver transplants already. And this, I think, shows the sincerity of the people, the professionalism of the people there, to be able to deliver very expensive and elaborate operations to needy children in Jamaica. Very interesting.
Dr. Herbosa is the Secretary of Health in the Philippines. Be sure to enjoy Jamaica. Make sure you enjoy the food and make sure you enjoy our beaches. And do come back.
I actually feel at home here.
Good.
I come from the islands as well.
Very good. Dr. Herbosa, the Secretary of Health for the Philippines. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Politics and public health. Of course, Ring the Bell had to come in, but then we get a little taste of normality in citizens' arrest and Dream Weekend.
We're now having the reflection from Dr. Denise Eldemar-Scherer, Public Health Specialist and Director of Aging and Wellness at the Mona Aging and Wellness Center here at UWI, providing a reflection on the book Wild Flavors. Next with me, no stranger to the airways of Nationwide, you've heard him here many times, Howard Mitchell is a past president of the PSOJ. You just heard his remarks about the role that the PSOJ played at the time of the pandemic. Good evening, Mr. Mitchell.
Not here.
Good evening, Mr. Good evening.
Not yet.
There we go.
Thank you.
Howard Mitchell, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
All right. So I heard you talking about how the PSOJ rallied to the cause, yeah, when you were called upon to assist the response. Take us back to that time. Was there any point where, because obviously there were shutdowns, businesses were being affected, was there any point that you all thought, man, this is difficult?
If you recall, I think it was Dunstan Brown, the moderator,
Yes.
who mentioned seeing some projected numbers.
Yes.
At that point, we were privy to those numbers, and it was sheer terror.
Yes.
Okay? And we realized that we had to do whatever was necessary to stand with the government, with the Ministry of Health, on dealing with this crisis. So I didn't recall any dissent or
Yes.
any confusion about the focus. It was there. And we were fortunate with that. So literally whatever the government asked us to do, once it was available, we did it. I mean, I spoke of a businessman who had his private jet, and if I said, listen, I want to take the jet and go to the wherever, he would say it's at your disposal. And those things are not cheap.
Yeah.
So there was that kind of national willingness right there. It was fertile ground.
Right. So obviously assisting the government, but as business leaders, you also had thousands of staff members who were being affected. As a leader in the private sector, how did you ensure that your employees were brought into the messaging that was coming from the government, which I imagine also assisted in the compliance?
I would have to say, in truth, that there wasn't any conscious plan of that kind. And that would be a remedial effort in going forward. The whole, in my view, the critical secret to responding to these things is inclusiveness and openness. You cannot get people, especially Jamaican people, to do things when they don't understand why it is that it's
They
being
need to
done.
do it, yes, that is
So
true.
that is an area that we didn't do as well with, or else I think we would have had more vaccinations.
So going forward, you think the messaging is going to be important as to the why?
Yes, I think we must stop treating our people as limited in their ability to grasp situations.
Yeah. Give them the information.
I think that's what we
Explain.
need.
Yeah.
Give them the information and trust them to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I have seen that because I have been close to other situations. I've seen that over and over. Don't panic them, but give them the information.
And they'll comply.
And they'll find a way to deal with it.
Let me ask you, when you look back, for you, what was I'm going to call it the big win? And what, when you look back now, do you say to yourself, boy, we really should have done a better job at that?
The big win first, the big win was getting the African medical platform on board. We immediately got access to more vaccines than we would need.
Yes.
And that was done through the offices of the Honorable Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith.
Foreign Minister.
Right.
Yeah.
And she put a lot of work into that. The big challenge with that was the logistics of getting them from South Africa to Jamaica in good condition.
Yeah.
So that was the big win. The question you ask is, what was the perhaps not so big a win?
Yes.
Well, for me, from my perspective, the not so big a win was our failure to convince more people to get vaccinated. And I think it was, from my distance, I wasn't fully in there, but from my distance, it was driven by a fear of conflict with the ideas, that our leaders stepped back from it because they were perhaps not trusting that the people would make their own decisions, and we didn't market the thing, we didn't advertise, we didn't promote, and we should do that. If you believe in something, you must speak to it, right?
yeah.
So I think that going forward, that's something that we need to address. We need to educate our people to the options and make the options available to them.
How confident are you that all we learned from the COVID-19 pandemic has improved and strengthened our public health resilience?
I believe it has strengthened our awareness. I believe it has strengthened our confidence. I am not so sure that it has strengthened our effective tactical ability to deal with a similar occurrence. Okay, we have limited resources, and maintenance is not one of our strong points. And that includes maintenance of ideas, and maintenance of systems, and maintenance of policies. So that is where I think going forward, the ministry and the government have to work on keeping those policies, those systems, those strategies up to date at all times.
Yeah. Howard Mitchell, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Blessings.
Yeah, man. I vividly recall having to call Mr. Mitchell several times. Where are the vaccines? The vaccines reach yet? The vaccines reach yet? I remember
I
those
tried
calls.
to tell you the truth.
You did. You always did. To be fair, you always did. Listeners, that's been the live broadcast from the UWI-Mona Undercroft, the launch of the book Wild Flavors, an insider account of Jamaica's journey through the crisis of the COVID pandemic, written by the country's health minister, Dr. Christopher Tufton. $5,000 for a copy, so you should get yours and get the insider's account. Yes, he was the man at the helm of the country's response. Universally praised, internationally praised, yes, that Jamaica did much better than a lot of other countries. All that's left is for me to say thank you to our super producer, Dana Davey. Thank you, ma'am. Our technical engineer, Jermaine Compass. We also had Damian Cunningham with us, branding assistant Sheldon Richards, technical operator in studio, Bugs, Andrew Glenn Anderson, sales supervisor Joan Shervington, our videographer Jamal Tucker, always with us. The news and production team led by our editor, Cara Powell. Thank you all so much. I'm Ricardo Brooks on behalf of Cliff Hughes. Good evening.
The Jamaica diaspora says